Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that took me years to understand. The most powerful thing you can ever do in your life is focus on yourself and shift your energy. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, our time, our heart, and sometimes even our sanity. But let me ask you a question. When was the last time you gave all that energy to you? You can't pour from an empty cup. Prioritize yourself before trying to fix or uplift others. This simple truth is something many of us ignore until we are completely drained. Every day people stretch themselves thin, giving their time, attention, energy, and love to others without taking even a moment to refill their own emotional and mental reserves. They believe they're doing the right thing, being kind, being selfless, being supportive. But the problem is, when you continuously give from a cup that's already running low, you begin to feel resentment, exhaustion, and even bitterness. That's not love. That's sacrifice without balance. And over time, it breaks you down. The idea of putting yourself first has been labeled selfish in many cultures, but it's not selfish. It's survival. If you are not whole, if you are not stable, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then how can you possibly offer someone else true support? You're offering from a place of emptiness, and that's not sustainable. There's a difference between helping someone and carrying their entire load while neglecting your own. So many people have been conditioned to believe their worth is tied to how much they can give others. They spend their time fixing everyone else's mess, healing everyone else's wounds, answering every call, solving every problem. And they wear that like a badge of honor. But inside, they hurt. They tired. They craving the same love, the same understanding, the same support they so freely give. What's even more dangerous is they begin to lose themselves in the process. They forget their dreams, their goals, their peace. They push it all aside for the sake of others, telling themselves that one day someone will notice and return the favor. But that day rarely comes. The truth is, nobody is coming to refill your cup for you. That's your job. You have to learn how to say no without guilt, how to rest without apologizing, how to step away without explaining. It's your responsibility to make yourself a priority. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It's a necessity. When you take the time to nurture your own well-being, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, you're not only helping yourself, you're also ensuring that when you do show up for others, you do so from a place of abundance, not lack. You speak with clarity. You give with joy. You love without resentment. And that difference is powerful. Imagine pouring from a cup that's full and overflowing. You give easily because you have more than enough. You're not depleted, you're energized. That's the place we all need to operate from. Some people might not understand your shift. They might say you've changed, become distant, or even call you selfish. That's okay. Let them talk. You're not living for their approval. You're living for your peace. You're finally honoring yourself, something many people never find the courage to do. It's not your job to convince them. It's your job to protect your space. You deserve to feel whole. You deserve to wake up without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling like you're already behind before the day even begins. That feeling of peace comes when you stop trying to carry what was never yours to hold. Filling your own cup means being honest with yourself about your limits, recognizing when you need rest, and not feeling guilty for needing space. It means knowing that your value isn't in how much you can endure, but in how deeply you know yourself and what you need. You begin to realize that not everyone is entitled to your time or energy. You don't owe access to people just because they've known you for a long time. Relationships, friendships, family, none of it should require you to sacrifice your mental well-being. You were not put here to constantly be available to others, while neglecting yourself. You were not born to be a martyr for someone else's comfort. Energy is a currency. Invest it where it grows, not where it drains. Most people don't realize just how valuable their energy is until it's depleted. They spend day after day giving their thoughts, emotions, and presence to people, situations, and environments that don't give anything back. Then they wonder why they feel so tired, unmotivated, or stuck. The truth is, your energy is one of the most powerful tools you have. It fuels your focus, your creativity, your relationships, your goals. But like money, if you invest it carelessly, it disappears without any return. And if you keep putting it into people who only take or into situations that go nowhere, you'll eventually find yourself bankrupt, not financially, but emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Every interaction you have is an exchange. Whether it's a conversation, a friendship, a job, or a commitment, you are either gaining energy or losing it. And if you're not paying attention to where your energy goes, you'll miss the slow drain that robs you of your peace. One of the hardest things to do is to admit that certain people and places are simply not healthy for your growth. But once you become aware of that truth, you have a choice. You can continue to stay in those cycles out of loyalty, guilt, or fear, or you can take control and redirect your energy toward things that nourish you. Not everything deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your presence. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from what feels familiar, but no longer feeds your spirit. The moment you begin to look at your energy as a limited resource, you begin to become selective about where you place it. You stop wasting time trying to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing friendships that always leave you feeling less than. You stop holding on to environments that suffocate your potential. Instead, you begin to seek out spaces that feel light, conversations that uplift, goals that inspire. You start aligning with people who match your mindset and mirror your growth. That shift changes everything. Suddenly, life begins to feel lighter, more purposeful. You find yourself waking up with more clarity, moving with more intention, and experiencing joy in places that used to feel heavy. People will often mistake your shift in energy for being cold or distant. They'll say you're different, and that's true. You are different. Because once you realize how precious your energy is, you stop giving it away just to keep others comfortable. You begin to protect it like a treasure, because that's exactly what it is. You start making decisions that serve your well-being, even if others don't understand. And in doing so, you begin to build a life that reflects peace, power, and purpose. It's not about being selfish. It's about being smart with what you give. There's freedom in choosing where your energy goes. When you start investing in things that give back, like your passions, your health, your learning, your peace, you begin to create a life that feels full instead of empty. You start to see the difference between people who support your fire and people who only show up to watch you burn. You become more aware of how environments influence your mindset, how conversations affect your emotions, and how your daily choices either elevate you or drain you. This awareness allows you to take your power back, piece by piece. You don't owe your energy to anything or anyone that leaves you feeling drained. You are not a battery pack for others to use. Your energy was meant to be used wisely, intentionally, and with purpose. And when you start treating it that way, you begin to attract more of what matches that same frequency. You attract peace because you radiate it. You attract love because you embody it. You attract love because you've chosen to give it to yourself first. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary for growth and self-respect. Too many people go through life trying to please others, bending over backward to fit in the boxes that were never meant for them, and abandoning their own needs just to make everyone else comfortable. But the truth is, when you constantly place others above yourself, you eventually lose touch with who you are. You become a version of yourself that exists only to meet expectations, to avoid judgment, to gain approval. And in doing that, you silence your own voice, delay your own dreams, and weaken your own confidence. Choosing to focus on yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-awareness. It's a decision to put your energy where it truly belongs, into your own growth, healing, and happiness. There comes a time in everyone's life when they have to look in the mirror and ask, am I living for myself or just existing for others? That question can shake you because if the answer is that you've been neglecting yourself, it forces you to reevaluate your relationships, your routines, and your priorities. Sometimes we get so used to being available for everyone else that we forget we have the right to be available for ourselves. Focusing on yourself means giving yourself the same love, patience, and encouragement you've been giving others for years. It means asking yourself what you want, what you need, what you feel, and actually listening. Because no one else is responsible for your fulfillment but you. Society often glamorizes self-sacrifice, especially when it comes to relationships and family. We're taught that putting others first is the ultimate form of love. But what's often left out of that narrative is the damage done when we continuously deny ourselves for the sake of someone else. When you focus on yourself, you begin to realize that you cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot lead, love, or give effectively if you are depleted. You begin to understand that boundaries are not barriers, they're bridges to healthy relationships. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to keep people in your life who take more than they give. You don't have to keep proving your worth to anyone. Your value is not measured by how much you endure, but by how true you remain to yourself. It takes courage to focus inward, especially when people around you expect you to always be available. You'll face resistance. You might be called distant or self-centered. But that's only because you're no longer playing a role that served them more than it served you. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to become who you were born to be. That growth requires focus, discipline, and self-respect. It requires you to choose yourself. Not just once, but over and over again, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's misunderstood. When you focus on yourself, you give yourself permission to evolve. You start taking responsibility for your own happiness. You stop blaming others for what you lack and start building the life you deserve. You begin to discover new passions, new strengths, and new levels of peace. You find joy in solitude, clarity in silence, and power in your own voice. You no longer seek validation from the outside because you found it within. That inner peace becomes your foundation and it radiates into everything you do. People often think growth happens in loud moments, in big wins, in public recognition, but real growth happens quietly. It happens when you turn off the noise, tune into yourself, and finally start honoring your truth. It happens when you stop chasing love that hurts and opportunities that aren't aligned. It happens when you finally say, I matter too. Because you do. And the moment you begin living like you believe it, everything starts to change. Stop begging for attention, love, or validation. When you focus on you, it naturally finds you. One of the greatest mistakes people make is chasing after things that should come freely. They beg to be seen, to be heard, to be appreciated. And in that process, they slowly chip away at their self-worth. They start adjusting themselves to be more likable, more acceptable, more digestible. They shrink their light, hoping someone else will finally notice them, finally choose them, finally stay. But the truth is, anything you have to beg for will never be fulfilling. Anything you have to fight that hard just to keep will never bring peace. When you place your worth in someone else's hands, you give them the power to define you. And that's where the problem begins. There's nothing wrong with wanting love, appreciation, or connection. Those are natural human needs. But when that desire becomes a desperate need for validation, you start losing control over your identity. You begin measuring your value by how people treat you, how often they text, how much attention they give you, how loudly they applaud your efforts. That constant search for approval will leave you exhausted, anxious, and insecure. And the sad part is, the more you chase it, the more it seems to run. That's because real love, real recognition, and real connection are attracted to authenticity, not desperation. When you show up as your true self, confident, grounded, and whole, you don't have to beg for anything. The right people, the right energy, the right opportunities will come to you. Focusing on yourself means stepping back from the need to be validated by others. It means learning to affirm yourself without waiting for someone else to do it. It means telling yourself you are enough, not because someone else says so, but because you believe it. When you stop begging and start building, your energy shifts. You move from a place of lack to a place of abundance. You realize that you don't need to chase anything that's meant for you. You begin to understand that love that's real won't require you to beg. Attention that's genuine won't require you to perform. Validation that's rooted in truth won't come with condition. When you turn inward and begin to focus on your own healing, your own growth, and your own peace, everything else begins to realign. You attract different kinds of people. You notice you don't tolerate the same treatment you once did. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth because you're living like you already know it. And that confidence speaks louder than any words. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because self-respect is attractive. Inner peace is attractive. Independence is attractive. People can feel when you're not relying on them for your identity. They sense that you're whole with or without them. And that changes the way they show up for you. This shift requires trust. Trust that what is meant for you will find you. Trust that you are already enough without constantly performing or chasing. Trust that your value isn't dependent on anyone's ability to recognize it. And once you start operating from that belief, you take your power back. You stop living for likes, attention, and empty praise. You start living for purpose, joy, and alignment. You start reaching out just to fill a void, and instead you fill your own cup. You develop emotional independence. You become more present, more grounded, and more secure in your path. What's powerful about this kind of transformation is that it doesn't require anyone else to change. It starts with you. It starts the moment you stop looking outward and start doing the internal work. The moment you stop asking, why won't they see me? And start asking, why am I not seeing myself? That is where your freedom begins. That is when the begging ends and the becoming starts. You realize you were never meant to beg for love. You were meant to be it, radiate it, and attract it without compromise. Learn to say no to protect your peace and energy from distractions. In a world that constantly demands your time, attention, and emotional availability, the ability to say no becomes one of your most powerful tools. It's easy to get caught up in the pressure to please everyone, to be liked, to avoid conflict, or to not come off as rude or difficult. So many people end up saying yes to things they don't want to do, agreeing to commitments that drain them, and surrounding themselves with people who disrupt their mental space simply because they're afraid of what might happen if they say no. But the cost of always saying yes is far greater than the discomfort of setting boundaries. Every yes you give away to something that doesn't align with your peace is a no you take away from yourself, from your rest, from your purpose. The truth is, not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every relationship should have access to your time and heart. When you learn to say no without guilt, you begin to honor your inner voice. You begin to respect your own energy. You acknowledge that you are not obligated to exhaust yourself just to make others comfortable. Peace becomes more important than approval. And that shift is what leads to true personal freedom. You stop running yourself into the ground trying to meet everyone else's expectations. You stop feeling the need to explain every decision. You simply know what is right for you and you choose it. Saying no is not a rejection of people. It's a declaration of priorities. It's saying, I value my time. I value my space. I value my well-being. And when you begin to live from that place, you start to attract more respect from others as well. People begin to understand your boundaries. They may not like it at first, especially if they've grown used to your constant availability, but they will eventually adapt. And if they don't, that's a reflection of them, not you. Anyone who genuinely cares about you will want to see you rested, balanced, and thriving, not burned out and resentful. Boundaries are how you protect your joy, your focus, and your mental clarity. Distractions don't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes they come dressed as good intentions, as obligations, or as familiar routines. But anything that constantly pulls you away from your growth, your peace, or your purpose is a distraction. And distractions have a way of multiplying when you're unclear about your boundaries. That's why it's important to get comfortable with the word no. Practice it, use it, own it. Let it become part of your vocabulary without hesitation. Because when you say no to what drains you, you are simultaneously saying yes to what fulfills you. You are giving yourself the space to breathe, to think, to move with intention. It takes strength to say no, especially when you've been conditioned to be agreeable or when you fear disappointing others. But that strength grows with every decision you make to honor yourself. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to realize that your peace is not something you're willing to compromise. You stop trying to prove your worth through your availability. Instead, you let your presence be a choice, not an obligation. And that decision creates a powerful shift in your life. It teaches you how to protect your time, how to guard your energy, and how to move in alignment with your value. There will always be more requests, more invitations, more opportunities to give away your time. But there won't always be more of you unless you make sure to protect your own capacity. Saying no is not shutting the world out. It's choosing what gets in. It's learning that not everything deserves your yes, and not everyone is entitled to your attention. You don't owe everyone access to you. What you owe is to yourself, to live in a way that honors your truth, your limits, and your peace. When you shift your energy inward, you become unstoppable. Clarity, strength, and purpose will follow. Most people go through life pointing their energy outward, constantly reacting to the world, chasing approval, comparing themselves to others, and trying to control what's beyond their reach. They spread themselves thin, trying to manage external chaos while neglecting their inner world. The problem with that approach is that nothing external can ever give lasting peace if your internal state is in conflict. When you constantly give your energy to things outside of you, what people think, how they act, what they say, you end up exhausted and disconnected from yourself. But the moment you choose to bring that energy inward, everything starts to shift. You start seeking validation and you start seeking alignment. You stop reacting to noise and you start responding from a place of grounded awareness. You stop drifting through life and you start walking with purpose. The power of inward energy is that it helps you get clear. When you turn your attention inward, you begin to hear your own thoughts without the clutter of the world drowning them out. You begin to understand what you truly want instead of what you've been told you should want. You identify your strengths, your wounds, your values, your boundaries. You reconnect with your intuition. That clarity becomes your compass. It guides your decisions, sharpens your vision, and silences the doubt that once held you back. You no longer feel the need to chase every opportunity or follow every trend. You know who you are and what path is yours. That confidence is not loud, but it is unshakable. It radiates from within and it moves with quiet certainty. Strength is built when you consistently choose to protect your energy. When you stop giving your power away to things you can't control, you gain more of it. You begin to realize that peace is not something you find in the world. It's something you cultivate within yourself. And from that peace comes power. The kind of power that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that shows up fully, even in silence. The kind that allows you to face challenges without losing your center. When your energy is anchored in your own self-awareness and self-trust, nothing can shake you for long. You might bend, but you won't break. You might fall, but you'll rise stronger because you're connected to something deeper than external outcomes. Purpose emerges naturally when your energy is focused inward. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone and start being everything to yourself, you gain a sense of direction that isn't based on status or applause, but on meaning. You begin to recognize what lights you up, what feels right in your soul, what brings out your best self. And once you find that, it becomes harder to settle for anything less. You start designing your life around your values, not around other people's expectations. You make choices that reflect your growth, not your fears. You move with intentionality, and that movement inspires everything around you. People start noticing a different kind of energy in you. Calm, focused, unwavering. That's the result of someone who has shifted inward and discovered their own light. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It takes discipline to withdraw your energy from distractions and turn it inward. It takes courage to face what you find inside, your fears, your insecurities, your untapped potential. But the rewards are unmatched. You begin to feel more alive, more connected, and more powerful in your own skin. You stop needing external noise to validate your journey because your own inner voice becomes louder, clearer, and more trustworthy. You stop living for the applause and start living in alignment. You stop waiting for permission and start claiming space. You begin to notice how your energy influences your environment instead of your environment controlling your energy. That's where transformation begins. That's where resilience lives. That's where you truly become unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, 2026 is here, and I want you to feel this with me. This year is not just another number on the calendar. This is your moment. It's time to reset, restart, and refocus. You hear me. Reset, restart, and refocus. Because what got you here won't get you there. And some of you are still holding on to habits, excuses, and doubts that are keeping you from your next level. It stops now. Resetting your life begins with a simple, yet powerful decision: choosing yourself. So many of us go through life letting the world dictate our pace, letting obligations, expectations, and other people's opinions steer our path. We wake up every day, react to situations, and carry baggage that isn't even ours. We carry mistakes from the past, regrets from moments we can't change, and worries about the future that may never happen. And while we do all this, we forget that our life, our energy, and our happiness are ours to manage. Choosing to reset is saying to yourself, I matter. My dreams matter. My growth matters. It's a declaration that your life isn't just a series of days to survive. It's a canvas waiting for your intentional creation. When you decide to reset, you give yourself permission to step back, assess where you are, and make changes without guilt or hesitation. Resetting doesn't mean failure or giving up. It means wisdom, awareness, and courage. It means understanding that you are worth the effort it takes to start over, to clean your space, your mind, and your heart so you can operate from a place of clarity instead of chaos. Mental and emotional clutter is one of the biggest obstacles to growth. The mind is a battlefield, constantly bombarded by doubt, fear, negative self-talk, and endless distractions. If you never clear the debris, you can never focus on what truly matters. When you reset, you begin by identifying what's weighing you down. This could be toxic relationships that drain your energy instead of building you up. It could be old habits that no longer serve your goals, habits you cling to simply because they are familiar. It could be resentments, grudges, or regrets that you replay in your mind, convincing yourself they define you. When you recognize these sources of clutter, you start to make intentional decisions about what to keep and what to release. You learn to forgive yourself for mistakes, forgive others for wrongs, and stop carrying unnecessary weight. This clearing process isn't just mental, it's emotional. Every time you let go of a negative thought or habit, you make space for something positive, something life-affirming, and something aligned with your purpose. Resetting also means setting boundaries and reclaiming your energy. Often, we allow people and situations to take more than we are willing to give because we've never stopped to assert our worth. Resetting teaches you that saying no is not selfish. It's essential. It's a tool for preserving your peace, your focus, and your capacity to thrive. Choosing yourself might mean leaving situations that are comfortable but not fulfilling, stepping away from people who gossip, criticize, or hold you back, and prioritizing activities that fuel your mind, body, and spirit. When you do this, you create a life that is aligned with your values instead of one dictated by external pressures. A reset also requires reflection. You have to look at your habits, routines, and choices with honesty. This is uncomfortable for many people because it requires accountability. But accountability is not punishment, it's empowerment. When you are honest with yourself, you can see patterns that no longer serve you. Maybe you've been procrastinating because you fear failure. Maybe you've been overcommitting because you fear letting others down. Maybe you've been neglecting your health, your finances, or your personal growth because you've been too distracted by trivial matters. Resetting gives you the chance to analyze these patterns and decide what to change. It gives you the opportunity to replace passive habits with intentional ones, confusion with clarity, and fear with courage. Choosing yourself also means giving yourself permission to dream again. Often, we stop pursuing goals because life got messy, responsibilities piled up, or fear whispered that we're not good enough. Resetting is telling yourself, it's not too late. I am capable. I can pursue what I want with focus, discipline, and faith. It's reconnecting with your passions, your purpose, and your vision for the future. The clarity gained from clearing clutter allows you to see the opportunities around you that you might have ignored while weighed down by noise. It gives you energy, creativity, and momentum to take decisive action. When you reset, you begin a cycle of renewal that touches every aspect of your life. Your mind becomes sharper, your emotions more stable, your relationships more intentional, and your energy more focused. Resetting is not a one-time event, it's a mindset. It's a daily practice of choosing what serves you and letting go of what doesn't. It's choosing yourself every single day, and when you do, the possibilities are endless. You no longer live a life dictated by chaos, distraction, or obligation. You live a life directed by clarity, purpose, and empowerment. Resetting is the first, bold step toward the life you deserve, the goals you've dreamed of, and the version of yourself you've been waiting to become. Restarting your life is not a decision for the faint-hearted. It requires courage, commitment, and the willingness to take bold action. Many people want change, but very few are willing to face the discomfort that comes with starting over. Restarting is more than a mental idea. It's a deliberate choice to step into the unknown, leave behind what isn't working, and create a new path forward. The truth is, life is full of setbacks, mistakes, and failures. Some of us carry these experiences like heavy chains, believing that one misstep defines our future. But the reality is that failures are not walls. They are lessons, signposts pointing toward growth, and opportunities waiting to be recognized. Restarting is the moment when you choose to see your past not as a burden, but as a foundation upon which to build something stronger wiser, and more resilient. Courage is at the heart of restarting. It takes courage to admit that something in your life needs to change. It takes courage to say, I can do better. I will do better. I deserve better. And it takes courage to step out when the familiar feels safe, even if that familiarity has been holding you back. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's taking action despite the fear, moving forward even when the path is uncertain, and trusting that your effort will lead to growth. Every successful person has faced moments where the next step seemed risky, and yet they pressed forward because they understood that stagnation is a far greater threat than failure. When you restart, you embrace courage as your companion, knowing that the discomfort you feel today is the fuel for your transformation tomorrow. Restarting also demands action. Thinking about change is easy. Talking about your dreams is easy. But action is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Restarting is about doing the work. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's about setting goals, making plans, and taking small steps consistently towards something greater. Action turns intention into results, and without it, courage alone is wasted. You may have to leave old habits behind, learn new skills, or confront truths about yourself that are difficult to face. This is not a one-time effort. It is a series of choices, repeated daily, that move you closer to the life you envision. Restarting requires discipline, the kind of discipline that doesn't quit when progress seems slow, when obstacles appear, or when others doubt you. One of the most important aspects of restarting is learning from past failures. Every mistake, setback, or loss contains a lesson if you are willing to see it. Some of us treat failure like a scarlet letter, something to hide and regret, but failure is actually a teacher, a guide, and a mirror showing us what needs to change. When you restart, you examine your past experiences honestly, identifying patterns that didn't serve you in decisions that led to undesirable outcomes. By analyzing these experiences without judgment, you extract wisdom that allows you to make better choices in the future. Restarting is about transforming regret into insight, shame into motivation, and disappointment into determination. It's about saying, I won't be defined by what went wrong. I will be defined by how I rise from it. Restarting also means leaving behind fear and self-doubt. Too many people delay action because they worry about failure or judgment. But restarting requires you to confront these fears head on and refuse to let them control your future. Every great achievement begins with a single step taken in faith, often in spite of fear. Restarting is your chance to redefine your story, to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you have ever imagined. It is an act of self-respect, self-love, and courage combined. The moment you restart, you are sending a clear message to yourself and the world. You refuse to stay stuck, and you will not allow the past to dictate your destiny. Restarting is also contagious. When you see someone take the brave step to reset and restart their life, it inspires others to do the same. Your courage and action become a beacon for those around you, demonstrating that change is possible at any stage of life. The energy that comes from embracing a fresh start motivates you to push further, to dream bigger, and to act with more intentionality. Every restart is a declaration that growth is worth the discomfort, that life is meant to be lived fully, and that nothing, no failure, no fear, no mistake, can keep you from moving forward when you are committed to taking action. In the end, restarting is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It is proof that you are willing to rise above the past, learn from your experiences, and step boldly into a future that reflects your true potential. Every restart requires courage. Every restart requires action. And every restart turns lessons into stepping stones for your greatest achievements. When you choose to restart, you are not beginning at zero. You are beginning with wisdom, experience, and a renewed sense of purpose. The moment you embrace this mindset, you realize that the power to create the life you desire has always been within you, waiting for the courage to act. Refocusing is one of the most powerful decisions you can make in your life, yet it's also one of the most overlooked. Many people spend years running in every direction, chasing everything that seems important in the moment, but in reality they are scattered, distracted, and drained. Refocusing is the act of intentionally directing your energy, attention, and resources toward what truly matters. toward the things that create lasting impact, fulfillment, and growth. Life is full of noise, endless tasks, and demands from every corner. If you never pause to realign your priorities, you will continue to expend energy on things that offer little to no return, leaving your potential untapped and your goals unfulfilled. Refocusing is not just about productivity, it's about clarity, purpose, and making deliberate choices that move you closer to the life you've always envisioned. It's saying no to distractions so you can say yes to what matters most. The first step to refocusing is understanding your priorities. Many people allow circumstances or other people to determine what they spend their time on rather than consciously deciding for themselves. This is why so many feel overwhelmed or unaccomplished at the end of the day. Refocusing requires you to identify what is most important in your life, your goals, your passions, your purpose, and your vision. Once you know what matters, you can align your actions with these priorities. Every choice you make should be measured against the question, does this move me closer to my goal? Or is it a distraction? This is a daily practice, a constant awareness of where your energy goes, because small, consistent actions on the right priorities compound into extraordinary results over time. Refocusing also requires discipline. It's easy to get caught up in busy work, in doing things that look important but don't truly matter. Many people spend their days answering emails, scrolling social media, attending meetings that could have been an email, or running errands that are urgent but not essential. While these tasks may feel productive, they rarely move the needle toward your bigger goals. Discipline is the ability to resist the temptation of the immediate and trivial and instead invest in what will yield meaningful long-term results. It is choosing to wake up early to work on your dreams, even when you could sleep in. It is saying no to time-wasting activities, even when others expect you to participate. Discipline is the muscle that keeps your focus sharp and your energy aligned with your purpose. Another critical element of refocusing is clarity of vision. If you don't know where you are going, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you may be running in circles. Refocusing means constantly checking your path against your ultimate goals and asking yourself if your current actions are aligned with that vision. It requires removing mental clutter, those doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs that cloud judgment and waste energy. When your mind is clear, your focus becomes sharper, your decisions become better, and your energy is spent on meaningful work instead of scattered effort. This clarity turns every day into a deliberate step forward, instead of a random series of actions that may or may not matter. Refocusing also demands letting go of what no longer serves you. In order to make room for growth and achievement, you must release habits, relationships, and activities that drain your time and energy. This is not easy. Many people cling to comfort zones or familiar patterns even when they hold them back. Refocusing requires courage to make hard choices, cutting ties with negativity, stepping away from distractions, and prioritizing the relationships and activities that align with your goals. By letting go of what is unnecessary, you create space for what is essential, allowing your energy to flow toward meaningful results. When you commit to refocusing, you notice immediate changes in your life. Productivity increases because your energy is spent wisely. Confidence grows because your decisions are intentional rather than reactive. Stress decreases because you are no longer juggling a million unimportant tasks. Most importantly, results start to manifest in ways that are tangible and fulfilling. Refocusing allows you to measure your progress against your true priorities, rather than being lost in a haze of business. Your time becomes a powerful tool, your actions become more strategic, and your life starts moving in the direction you've always wanted. Ultimately, refocusing is about reclaiming your life from distraction and chaos. It's about living intentionally and purposefully, putting your energy where it counts, and refusing to settle for anything less than meaningful results. The world will always try to pull you in multiple directions, but when you refocus on what matters most, you become unstoppable. You operate from a position of strength, clarity, and purpose, and everything you do begins to align with your vision. Refocusing is not a one-time decision. It is a daily choice, a mindset, and a practice. And when you make that choice consistently, you realize the extraordinary truth. The more you focus on what truly matters, the more extraordinary your results become, and the closer you come to living the life you were meant to live. Consistency is one of the most underrated secrets to achieving real success, yet it is often overlooked in favor of chasing perfection. Many people delay action, waiting for the perfect moment, to start a perfect plan to fall into place, or the perfect version of themselves to appear. But life doesn't wait for perfection. Opportunities don't pause until you feel fully ready. Waiting for perfection is the easiest way to stay stuck, watching your dreams drift further away while life passes by. True progress comes not from flawless execution, but from consistent effort, repeated action, and persistent dedication over time. Consistency compounds, just like interest in a bank account. Small, steady steps may feel insignificant at first, but over weeks, months, and years, they produce results far beyond what sporadic bursts of perfect effort could achieve. Understanding the power of consistency is a game changer because it teaches us that showing up every day, even imperfectly, is what separates ordinary people from extraordinary achievers. Consistency requires discipline and commitment. It is the willingness to take action when you don't feel motivated, when obstacles arise, and when results aren't immediate. Many people give up too soon because they expect instant success or flawless outcomes. They believe that if they can't do something perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. But life doesn't reward perfection, it rewards persistence. Each day you show up, each time you put in the work, you are building momentum. Momentum is powerful because once it starts, it makes the next step easier, the next challenge more manageable, and the next achievement more attainable. Consistency turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes, and it turns effort into results that last. One of the key aspects of consistency is focusing on progress, not perfection. Perfection is an illusion. No one starts at the top, and no one gets it right every time. Mistakes, failures, and setbacks are part of the journey, not reasons to quit. When you are consistent, you accept that progress is made one step at a time. You celebrate small victories, learn from mistakes, and adjust your approach as needed, all while continuing to move forward. Each action, no matter how small or imperfect, contributes to the larger goal. Over time, these small actions accumulate, creating momentum that carries you towards success faster than waiting for everything to be perfect ever could. Consistency also builds trust, both with yourself and with others. When you consistently show up for your goals, you prove to yourself that you are reliable, capable, and committed. This strengthens your confidence and reinforces the belief that you can handle challenges and overcome obstacles. Others notice consistency as well. Whether it's at work, in relationships, or in your personal projects, people respect those who are dependable and persistent. Consistency creates credibility, establishes authority, and opens doors to opportunities that only those who persist can access. It's not talent alone that propels people forward. It's the consistent effort to show up and deliver every day. Another crucial element of consistency is building habits. Habits are the backbone of sustained action. When you consistently perform positive actions, they eventually become automatic, requiring less mental energy and willpower. This is why consistency in daily routines, like exercising, learning, planning, or practicing a skill, leads to extraordinary results over time. You don't have to rely on motivation, luck, or inspiration every day. You simply rely on the habits you've built. Habits are the silent engine behind consistency, allowing you to achieve more than you ever thought possible because your actions become almost inevitable once the pattern is established. Consistency also teaches patience. Real success is rarely immediate, and it often takes longer than we anticipate. But when you commit to consistent action, you develop resilience, endurance, and the understanding that long-term results are built through steady effort, not shortcuts. Each day you commit, each step you take, and each challenge you overcome reinforces your ability to persevere. This resilience compounds over time, making it easier to face bigger challenges, tackle harder goals, and maintain progress when the journey gets tough. Ultimately, consistency over perfection is the key to momentum. Perfection can paralyze, while consistency liberates. Consistent action generates results, builds confidence, develops habits, and creates a trajectory towards success. It allows you to keep moving forward no matter the obstacles, the distractions, or the fears that try to slow you down, Every day you choose to show up, even imperfectly, you are investing in your future. Every repeated action compounds, creating a chain of progress that cannot be broken. And once momentum is in motion, success becomes inevitable. When you fully embrace consistency, you realize that perfection was never the goal, it was the excuse. Showing up every day, putting in the work, learning from mistakes, and staying committed is what transforms ordinary efforts into extraordinary achievements. Consistency is not glamorous, it is not instant, and it is not always easy, but it is the most powerful weapon you have in creating a life of accomplishment, growth, and lasting success. The small, steady steps you take today are the foundation for the breakthroughs you will celebrate tomorrow, and it all begins with the choice to be consistent. No matter what, change and discomfort are two of the most misunderstood concepts in life. Most people run from them, avoid them, and resist them at every turn. They want comfort, familiarity, and predictability because it feels safe. But the truth is, growth and transformation never come from comfort zones. Real progress, lasting achievement, and personal evolution happen when we embrace change and step willingly into discomfort. Change challenges our habits, pushes us into the unknown, and forces us to adapt. Discomfort tests our resilience, patience, and courage. Together, they are powerful catalysts that take ordinary people and help them become extraordinary. Understanding this is the first step toward living a life that is bigger, bolder, and more aligned with your true potential. Embracing change starts with perspective. Change is not an enemy to fear. It is an opportunity to evolve. Every moment of transition, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, a move to a new city, or a shift in mindset, presents a chance to learn, to grow, and to expand your abilities. Most people resist change because it comes with uncertainty, and uncertainty makes them uncomfortable. They fear that leaving the familiar might lead to failure, rejection, or disappointment. But remaining stagnant carries a much greater risk, the risk of never realizing your potential, of watching life pass you by while you stay safe, small, and predictable. By reframing change as an opportunity rather than a threat, you unlock the ability to move forward with confidence, curiosity, and courage. Discomfort is the companion of change. Anytime you step into something new, you will feel unease. Your mind will resist. Your body will protest. Your emotions will question whether you are capable. But that discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are growing. Discomfort stretches you. It challenges old beliefs and forces you to develop new skills. It refines your character, strengthens your resolve, and sharpens your focus. Those who learn to embrace discomfort understand that it is temporary, but the growth it brings lasts a lifetime. Each moment of challenge, every stretch beyond what feels safe, is an investment in the person you are becoming. One of the greatest lessons in embracing change and discomfort is learning to detach from outcomes and focus on the process. Often, people resist change because they are fixated on guarantees. They want certainty, predictability, and control. But life rarely offers guarantees. The only thing you can control is your response, your effort, and your mindset. When you focus on embracing the process rather than fearing the outcome, you open yourself to learning, discovery, and innovation. You start to see every challenge as a stepping stone rather than an obstacle, and every uncomfortable situation as an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Embracing change also requires courage. It takes bravery to step into the unknown, to leave behind what feels safe, and to pursue something that stretches you beyond your current limits. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting despite it. Those who embrace change understand that fear is a sign that they are moving in the right direction. It signals that they are leaving old habits, outdated mindsets, and limiting beliefs behind. Every courageous step into discomfort builds confidence, resilience, and self-trust. With each challenge faced and overcome, you reinforce the truth that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Change and discomfort also teach flexibility and adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and success rarely follows a straight path. Those who cling rigidly to familiar routines or resist shifts in circumstances find themselves stuck or left behind. By learning to embrace change, you develop the ability to pivot, adjust, and innovate. You learn to see setbacks not as failures, but as information, feedback, and opportunities for course correction. Flexibility allows you to navigate the complexities of life with grace and wisdom, turning potential obstacles into opportunities for growth. Ultimately, embracing change and discomfort fuels transformation. It is through challenge, uncertainty, and struggle that you discover your true potential. Comfort zones may feel safe, but they are the birthplace of stagnation. Growth comes when you take the risk to step into something unknown, when you lean into the unease, and when you trust that the process is molding you into the person you are meant to become. Every moment of change, every uncomfortable decision, and every stretch beyond familiarity is shaping your character, your mindset, and your life trajectory. The more you embrace it, the stronger, wiser, and more capable you become. Those who understand this truth realize that life's greatest rewards lie just outside the boundaries of comfort. Transformation is not accidental, it is intentional. It is the product of embracing what is difficult, leaning into change, and using discomfort as a guide toward growth. By choosing to face the unknown with courage, curiosity, and commitment, you step into a life of possibility, resilience, and extraordinary achievement. Discomfort is not the enemy of progress. It is its essential ingredient, and change is not something to fear. It is the doorway to the life you have been waiting to create. Believing in your worth is the foundation upon which every success, every achievement, and every meaningful life experience is built. Too many people go through life undervaluing themselves, questioning their abilities, and doubting their potential. They look at the achievements of others and think, "I could never do that," or they let fear whisper, "You're not good enough." The truth is that the moment you genuinely believe in your worth, your life begins to change. Belief in your own value is not arrogance. It is recognition of your God-given abilities, your talents, and your capacity to grow, achieve, and contribute. When you fully embrace your worth, you stop allowing doubt, criticism, or past failures to define you. Instead, you operate from a place of confidence, clarity, and purpose, and this unlocks doors to opportunities that were previously invisible or inaccessible. Believing in your worth begins with self-recognition. It is acknowledging that you are unique, that your life has value, and that your contributions matter. Many people wait for validation from others, approval, recognition, or praise before they feel worthy. But true belief in your worth comes from within. It is an internal acknowledgement that you are capable of greatness, deserving of success, and entitled to pursue your dreams without apology. When you recognize your own value, you no longer settle for less than you deserve. You refuse to tolerate situations, relationships, or opportunities that diminish your potential or undermine your self-respect. Self-belief is the compass that guides you toward experiences and people that align with your true purpose. Believing in your worth also gives you courage. When you understand that you are valuable and capable, you are willing to take risks that others avoid. Fear of failure diminishes because you know that even if you stumble, your worth is intact. You are more willing to step into new challenges, speak up, pursue ambitious goals, and explore opportunities that require faith in yourself. Courage and self-belief are inseparable because both require the understanding that your potential is greater than your fear. Every time you take action fueled by belief in yourself, you reinforce that belief and it becomes stronger, creating a positive cycle of growth and achievement. Belief in your worth transforms the way you handle setbacks and criticism. Life is full of obstacles, failures, and moments when others may doubt your abilities. People may underestimate you, opportunities may be delayed, or your own mistakes may shake your confidence. But when you believe in your worth, you understand that these challenges do not define your value. Setbacks become lessons, criticism becomes feedback, and failures become stepping stones to success. Your worth is not determined by external circumstances. It is intrinsic, unshakable, and constant. This perspective allows you to persevere, remain resilient, and keep moving forward toward your goals. Believing in your worth also impacts the energy you bring to every relationship and endeavor. When you value yourself, you set higher standards for how you are treated. You attract people who respect, support, and encourage your growth, and you create an environment where your talents and abilities can thrive. You no longer waste time or energy on negativity, self-doubt, or comparisons. Your confidence radiates, inspiring others, and creating opportunities that align with your strengths and aspirations. People naturally respond to those who believe in themselves, and this belief amplifies your influence, impact, and reach. Believing in your worth is the key to unlocking your full potential because it shifts your mindset from limitation to possibility. When you doubt yourself, you restrict your vision, shrink your ambitions, and settle for what feels safe. But when you truly believe in your value, you expand your vision, aim higher, and take bold steps toward goals that once felt unattainable. Self-belief removes invisible barriers, empowers you to embrace your talents fully, and allows you to pursue excellence without hesitation. It is the internal engine that drives personal growth, achievement, and fulfillment. Ultimately, believing in your worth is an act of empowerment. It frees you from the chains of doubt, fear, and external judgment. It enables you to embrace challenges, pursue your dreams, and step confidently into the life you were meant to live. Every decision you make, every action you take, and every risk you embrace is amplified by the belief that you are deserving of success and capable of achieving it. When you believe in your worth, you no longer wait for permission, approval, or validation. You claim your space, your purpose, and your destiny. The potential within you has always existed, but it is belief that unlocks it, transforms it into action, and propels you toward extraordinary achievements. Believing in your worth is not optional if you want to live fully. It is the foundation of resilience, courage, and progress. When you embrace it, you step into a life without limitations, a life where you can achieve more, contribute more, and experience more than you ever imagined. Self-belief is the key that turns dreams into reality, struggles into strength, and potential into remarkable success. Your worth is undeniable, your potential is limitless, and the moment you fully accept this truth, nothing can stop you from becoming the best version of yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you from the heart today, because this message is not about impressing anyone else. It's about saving yourself. And staying consistent for yourself is one of the hardest things you will ever do in life, because nobody is clapping in the beginning. Nobody is watching you wake up early. Nobody is cheering when you say no to comfort. And nobody is giving you credit for the discipline you're trying to build. And that's exactly why most people quit. They're waiting for motivation from the outside when consistency is an inside job. See, consistency is not about feeling good every day. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. Some days you're going to be tired. Some days you're going to feel confused. Some days you're going to doubt yourself and wonder if it's even worth it. But consistency is you saying, I'm still going to do it anyway. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-respect. And when you break a promise to yourself, you slowly lose confidence. You don't lose confidence overnight. You lose it one excuse at a time. You have to understand this. You don't owe the world consistency. You owe it to yourself. The world will move on whether you win or lose, whether you succeed or fail. But you have to live with you. You have to wake up with you every single day. And when you look in the mirror, you should be able to say, I didn't quit on myself. That's what consistency really is. It's loyalty to the vision God put in your heart, even when the results are slow. A lot of people say they're waiting for the right time. Let me tell you something. There is no right time. The right time is when you decide. You don't get consistent after you feel ready. You feel ready after you get consistent. Discipline comes before motivation, not the other way around. If you only work when you feel inspired, you'll stay stuck. But if you work because you decided this is who you are now, your feelings will eventually catch up. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real tonight, something that changed my life long before the money, before the suits, before the lights. Consistency is not about motivation. It's about decision. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you wake up fired up. Some days you wake up tired, confused, doubting yourself. If consistency depended on how you feel, none of us would ever win. Consistency is what you do when you don't feel like doing nothing at all. It's about showing out for yourself even when nobody is clapping, even when nobody sees you, even when it looks like your effort is not producing results yet. That's the part most people don't understand. They want instant success, instant reward, instant validation. But consistency is quiet. Consistency works in silence. Consistency is lonely sometimes because you're walking a road most people quit on early. You see, staying consistent for yourself means you finally stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll wait until I'm ready. Let me tell you something about being ready. If you wait until you feel ready, you will wait your whole life. Nobody ever feels completely ready to chase a dream that scares them. Consistency means you do it scared. You do it tired. You do it unsure. You do it while still figuring it out. I had to learn that the hard way. I didn't wake up one day knowing how to be successful. I woke up knowing I had to keep going, even when the results weren't matching the effort. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Staying consistent for yourself also means you stop looking for external approval. Too many people quit because nobody is cheering for them in the beginning. Nobody is liking your posts. Nobody is supporting your vision. Nobody is calling you talented yet. But consistency is not built on applause. It's built on commitment. You have to clap for yourself when nobody else will. You have to believe in the work when there is no evidence yet. Faith works like that. You believe first, you work second, and the results come last. Most people want results first. That's why they quit. Consistency requires faith in the unseen, faith in the process, faith in who you are becoming even before you become it. Let me say this clearly. Consistency is an act of self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, your confidence grows. When you break promises to yourself, your confidence shrinks. Every time you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you teach yourself not to trust yourself. And every time you follow through, even on something small, you build a stronger relationship with you. That's powerful. That's how discipline is born. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want right now. Consistency is choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. There will be days you fall off. Let me free from this lie of perfection. Consistency does not mean you never mess up. Consistency means you don't quit when you mess up. You get back up. You forgive yourself. You adjust and you keep moving. Missing one day doesn't ruin your future, but quitting does. One bad week doesn't cancel your purpose, but giving up does. The problem is not falling. The problem is staying down and calling it failure. Failure is not falling short. Failure is stopping altogether. Staying consistent for yourself also means protecting your focus. Everybody doesn't need access to your dream. Everybody doesn't deserve an opinion on what God placed in your heart. Some people will talk you out of your consistency because they're uncomfortable with your discipline. They'll call you obsessed. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you'd really mean it. They really mean as you're doing what they don't have the courage to do. Consistency requires boundaries. Sometimes you have to say no to good things to stay committed to the great thing. And finally, understand this: consistency compounds. Small actions done daily will always beat big actions done occasionally. You don't have to do everything at once. You just have to do something every day. Progress loves patience. Success rewards persistence. If you stay consistent long enough, life has no choice but to change. Not because it's easy, but because it's law. You become what you repeatedly do. Stay consistent for yourself because you are worth the effort, the time, and the discipline it takes to become who you were meant to be. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real about consistency, because everybody wants it, everybody talks about it, but very few people actually live it. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to stay consistent for themselves is because they are waiting to feel like it. They wake up looking for motivation, energy, excitement, or the perfect mood. But consistency was never built on feelings. Feelings change every single day. You don't feel like going to work sometimes, but you go. You don't feel like paying bills, but you pay them. Why? Because responsibility doesn't care about your mood. If you really want to stay consistent for yourself, you have to stop letting your feelings run your life and start letting discipline lead the way. See, discipline is doing what you said you were going to do long after the excitement is gone. When you first start something new, you're fired up. You're watching videos. You're writing goals. You're telling people, this time I'm serious. But a few weeks later, the claps stop, the motivation fades, and now it's just you and the work. That's where consistency is born. Not in inspiration, but in repetition. The people who win aren't more talented than you. They're just more disciplined than you. They decided, no matter how I feel today, I'm going to show up. You have to understand this. Your future doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you do repeatedly. You can say you want success, peace, growth, or change, but if your daily actions don't match that desire, nothing is going to move. Consistency is proof that you actually believe in yourself. When you keep showing up on the days nobody is watching, that's you telling the universe, I'm serious. But when you quit every time it gets hard, you're sending another message, and that message is doubt. A lot of people quit on themselves because they set unrealistic expectations. They think consistency means perfection. It doesn't. Consistency means progress, even when it's small, even when it's ugly, even when it feels slow. If all you can give today is 30%, give that 30% and be proud you didn't give 0. Staying consistent doesn't mean you never get tired. It means you don't stop just because you're tired. There's a big difference. Let me tell you something else that matters. You have to stop negotiating with yourself. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll do it later, you're teaching yourself that your word doesn't mean anything. And if you can't trust yourself, who do you think will? Consistency starts when you keep small promises to yourself. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work you said you'd do. Even if it's just a little. Those small wins build self, and self-respect fuels consistency. You also have to accept that consistency is lonely sometimes. People won't always understand why you're so focused. They may even laugh at you in the beginning. But remember this, people will doubt you until they can't ignore you. Don't look for validation while you're building. Validation usually comes after the results, not before. If you need applause to stay consistent, you'll quit as soon as the noise fades. Learn to clap for yourself in private. Another hard truth is this: consistency requires sacrifice. You can't keep the same habits, the same distractions, the same excuses and expect a different life. Something has to go. Sometimes it's comfort. Sometimes it's late nights. Sometimes it's people who don't support your growth. Staying consistent for yourself means choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. And that choice has to be made daily, not once. And finally, understand this deeply: nobody is coming to save you. No one is going to wake you up, push you every day, or force you to become who you're meant to be. That responsibility belongs to you. When you stay consistent for yourself, you're not just building success, you're building character. You're becoming someone you can rely on. And once you become that person, once you prove to yourself that you don't quit when it gets hard, there is nothing you can't accomplish. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about staying consistent, we have to be honest with ourselves about the power of discipline in our lives. Consistency isn't something that just happens. It's something you build, something you fight for every single day. You see, most people think consistency is about doing big things all at once, but that's a mistake. True consistency is about showing up for yourself, even when nobody is watching, even when the world tells you it's too hard, even when your own mind is filled with excuses and doubts. The third key point I want to share with you is that consistency thrives on routine, on habits, on the small, daily decisions that seem insignificant at first, but compound into something powerful over time. Every morning when you wake up, you are making a choice. You are choosing whether day will be a day that moves you forward or a day that keeps you stuck. It might feel easy to brush off the small decisions, to skip a workout, to scroll social media instead of focusing on your goals, to delay the work that your dreams demand. But I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, these small choices define who you become. If you want to be consistent, you have to master the art of showing up in the little moments, over and over again. I want you to think about the power of habits. Habits are the building blocks of consistency. When you create a habit, you remove the question from your mind. You don't have to rely on willpower every day. Your actions become automatic. You see, most people rely on motivation to get things done, but motivation is a fleeting thing. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel on fire, the next day you feel like quitting. But habits don't care about how you feel. Habits are built when you commit to doing something over and over, no matter what. If you want to stay consistent, you have to create habits that align with your goals. Maybe it's waking up an hour earlier to work on yourself. Maybe it's writing down your priorities every morning. Maybe it's dedicating just 15 minutes to learning something new. Whatever it is, start small, because consistency doesn't require grand gestures. It requires persistent effort day after day. You want to be the kind of person who doesn't make excuses, who doesn't wait for the perfect moment, because the truth is, the perfect moment rarely comes. You have to create it with your actions, your choices, and your persistence. Now let me talk to you about accountability. Staying consistent is not just a mental game, it's also a social game. You need people in your life who will hold you to your commitments, who will remind you why you started when you feel like giving up, who will celebrate your small wins and push you through your setbacks. Consistency is easier when you are surrounded by others who understand the value of persistence, who are walking the same path and striving for the same kind of growth. If you isolate yourself, if you try to do everything alone, it becomes much harder to stay consistent. You see, accountability is not about shame, it's about support. It's about creating an environment where showing up for yourself is encouraged, expected, and even celebrated. Find those people, hold yourself accountable to them, and most importantly, hold yourself accountable to yourself. Because at the end of the day, the person you are being consistent for is not anyone else, it's you. Your dreams, your goals, your growth, your potential, they all require your commitment, your persistence, and your unwavering dedication. Another part of staying consistent is learning to embrace discomfort. You see, the path of consistency is not always easy. It is often uncomfortable. It demands sacrifice. It demands patience. You might not see results immediately. You might feel like giving up 1,000 times. But let me tell you something. Ladies and gentlemen, growth never happens in comfort. Consistency is forged in the fires of discipline. You will have days when your mind says, don't bother. Take a break. Relax. That's when you dig deep and remind yourself why you started, why you cannot afford to quit, why your dreams are worth the effort. Consistency is choosing to do what needs to be done, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when the reward is not immediate. Every step you take, no matter how small, moves you closer to becoming the person you are meant to be. It's in the struggle, in the daily grind, that you discover the strength you never knew you had. Finally, staying consistent requires reflection. You must take the time to evaluate your progress, to see what's working, what's not, and adjust accordingly. Consistency does not mean blindly repeating the same actions without thought. It means being deliberate, being intentional, and being aware of your growth. Celebrate your wins. Learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. Every day is an opportunity to show up for yourself, to build a stronger habit, to make better choices, and a step closer to the life you want. And when you do this, when you commit to the process, when you embrace the discomfort, when you build habits and accountability, consistency stops being a struggle and starts becoming a way of life. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of showing up for yourself day after day, no matter what. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth key point I want to share with you is the importance of mindset in staying consistent. You see, consistency is not just about doing things day after day. It's about believing in yourself and in the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Too many people give up because they don't see immediate results. They start strong, full of excitement and energy, but after a week, a month, or even a few months, they feel discouraged and quit. Let me tell you something right now, progress is often invisible at first. The small daily actions you take may not seem to make a difference today, but they are building a foundation for a breakthrough that is coming, whether you see it or not. If you want to stay consistent, you have to trust the process, trust yourself, and develop a mindset that refuses to quit, no matter the challenges or delays. Consistency is born from a mindset that says, I am committed and I will keep going, even when it's hard. Your mind will play tricks on you. It will tell you that your efforts don't matter, that your goals are too big, or that you are not capable of achieving them. And that is when you have to fight back. You have to remind yourself that the mind lies when it wants comfort and convenience. The truth is, you are capable of more than you realize, and every time you push through, every time you refuse to give up, you are training your mind to support your goals instead of holding you back. Mindset is the foundation of consistency because without it, no amount of planning, scheduling, or motivation will keep you moving forward. You have to build a mental framework that values persistence, that sees setbacks as lessons instead of failures, and that understands that small progress is still progress, and that refuses to let temporary feelings dictate permanent decisions. Another part of developing the right mindset is focusing on your why. You have to know why you are doing what you are doing. Why are you putting in the effort every single day? Why are you pushing yourself when it's uncomfortable? Your why is your anchor. The reason you get out of bed even when you feel tired, the reason you keep moving forward when others give up. When your why is strong enough, it gives your actions meaning, and meaning fuels consistency. Without a strong reason, it's easy to get distracted, to lose focus, or to justify giving up. But when your purpose is clear, every choice, every habit, and every decision becomes easier because it's tied to something bigger than a passing feeling or temporary obstacle. Mindset also means being patient with yourself. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about progress. You will stumble. You will miss a day. You will make mistakes. And that's okay. What matters is not the mistake. It's what you do after. Do you get up and keep going, or do you let one misstep turn into a full stop? People who stay consistent are not people who never fail. They are people who refuse to quit. They understand that life will throw challenges at them. That motivation will waver, and that discipline will be tested. But they keep showing up anyway. Mindset is the armor that protects you from giving up when life gets hard. It is the mental strength that turns consistency into a habit and a lifestyle. Finally, mindset is about envisioning the life you want. When you consistently see yourself achieving your goals, when you imagine the version of yourself that has mastered discipline, focus, and dedication, your mind starts aligning your actions with that vision. Your thoughts, feelings, and choices begin to match the person you want to become. This is why mindset matters more than talent, more than circumstances, more than luck. If your mind is consistent, your actions will follow. If you develop a mindset that refuses to quit, embraces challenges, trusts the process, and focuses on your why, you will find that consistency is no longer a struggle, but a natural part of who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, the fifth key point I want to share with you is the importance of managing your environment to support your consistency. You see, so many people struggle with staying consistent because they try to rely solely on willpower, and willpower is a limited resource. If you want to stay consistent, you need to create an environment that makes it easier for you to succeed and harder for you to fail. Your surroundings, the people you spend time with, the tools and habits you set up for yourself, all of these shape your ability to show up day after day. Consistency doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in an environment that either supports it or sabotages it. If you want to see change, you have to look carefully at your environment and make deliberate choices to align it with your goals. Think about it. If you are trying to eat healthy, but your kitchen is full of junk food, every day is going to be a struggle. If you are trying to focus on work or learning, but your phone is constantly buzzing with notifications, distraction becomes inevitable. If you are trying to be productive and consistent, but you spend most of your time around people who don't respect your goals or push you forward, staying on track is almost impossible. Your environment either feeds your consistency or feeds your excuses. You cannot leave this to chance. You have to design your environment so that it naturally encourages the behaviors you want to adopt. That might mean organizing your space, removing distractions, setting boundaries, or even changing the people you spend the most time with. When you do this, showing up consistently becomes easier because you are not constantly fighting against external forces. You are aligning yourself with success. Another part of managing your environment is controlling your inputs. What you read, watch, and listen to has a massive impact on your mindset, your energy, and your actions. If you fill your mind with negativity, gossip, or stories of failure, your motivation and focus will suffer. If you feed your mind with inspiration, knowledge, and positive energy, your consistency will be fueled from within. Surround yourself with books, podcasts, videos, and people that remind you of your goals, challenge you to be better, and encourage you to keep going. This is how champions are made, by creating an environment that consistently reinforces the life they want to live. You also have to think about time management as part of your environment. Consistency requires structure, scheduling, and deliberate planning. When you know what you are supposed to do, and when you are supposed to do it, you remove the chaos and uncertainty that often leads to procrastination and inconsistency. Block out time for your priorities, protect that time fiercely, and treat it as non-negotiable. The more intentional you are with your time, the easier it is to stay consistent because you're creating a system that supports your goals instead of relying on random bursts of motivation. Finally, your environment is not just physical, it's emotional. The way you feel about yourself, the self-talk you engage in, the emotions you nurture, all of these are part of your environment. If you allow self-doubt, fear, or negativity to dominate your mind, consistency will be a constant battle. But if you cultivate positivity, self-belief, and patience, you give yourself the internal support to keep showing up even when things get hard. Ladies and gentlemen, consistency is easier when your environment, both inside and outside, is aligned with the person you are trying to become. The small adjustments you make to your surroundings, your inputs, your time, and your mindset can multiply your results in ways you never imagined. When your environment works for you instead of against you, showing up for yourself day becomes a natural part of who you are, and success stops being a struggle and starts being a habit. Ladies and gentlemen, the sixth key point I want to share with you is about resilience and the power of never giving up. Consistency is not about perfection, It's about persistence. It's about continuing to move forward, even when life pushes back, even when setbacks try to derail you, even when it feels like the world is against you. You see, everyone will face obstacles. Everyone will encounter moments when the path ahead seems impossible. But the people who achieve greatness, the people who stick to their goals and dreams, are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to quit. Resilience is the secret ingredient that keeps you consistent. It is the inner strength that allows you to rise every time you fall, to try again when others have given up, and to keep your eyes on the prize no matter how long the journey takes. Life will test you in ways you never expected. There will be days when you feel exhausted, discouraged, and frustrated. There will be moments when everything seems to be going wrong, and the temptation to quit is overwhelming. That is the exact moment when consistency matters the most. It is in those difficult moments that showing up for yourself separates the dreamers from the doers. When you develop resilience, you understand that failure is not a reason to stop. It is a reason to learn, to adjust, and to push harder. Every setback is a lesson. Every obstacle is an opportunity to grow, and every challenge is a chance to prove to yourself that you are stronger than you think. Consistency thrives on resilience because it requires the courage to continue when the easy choice is to give up. Resilience also comes from perspective. You have to remember why you started, why your goals matter, and why your dreams deserve your effort. Too often, people lose sight of their purpose when things get tough. They focus on the struggle instead of the reward, the obstacle instead of the vision. But when you keep your purpose in mind, resilience becomes natural. You begin to see challenges as temporary, setbacks as small, and the path ahead as something you can overcome. It's about believing in yourself and your vision, even when the results are not immediate. The ability to maintain that belief, to trust the process, and to keep moving forward is what builds consistency over time. Another important aspect of resilience is flexibility. Staying consistent does not mean stubbornly repeating the same actions without adjustment. It means being willing to learn, adapt, and improve as you go. You might encounter situations that require you to change your approach, rethink your strategies, or find new solutions to old problems. Resilient people do not see change as a threat. They see it as an opportunity to refine their path and strengthen their commitment. They understand that adaptability is a crucial part of consistency because life is unpredictable, and the ability to adjust while staying true to your goals is what ensures long-term success. Finally, resilience is reinforced by celebrating small victories. Every time you stick to your routine, overcome a challenge, or achieve a minor milestone, you build confidence and momentum. These wins, no matter how small, remind you that your efforts are paying off and motivate you to keep going. Ladies and gentlemen, consistency is not just about showing up when it's easy. It's about showing up when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, and when giving up seems like the easiest choice. Resilience gives you the strength to do just that. When you embrace resilience, when you commit to never quitting, when you see obstacles as opportunities, consistency becomes a natural part of your life, and nothing can stop you from becoming the person you are meant to be.